Welcome back. Haven't got an awful lot done in the last week, but I did get into the city and bought all my my paint supplies. I've got some more epoxy primer, some high build primer, and I even got the color. So maybe jumping the gun a little bit with the color, but I would like to get the underside of the body painted up while it's still on the rotisserie, and then it could go on the chassis and actually stay on the chassis. But it may have to go on and off a couple of times, but we'll see. I'd like to get it in color anyway. I can do the engine bay, I can do the trunk, and most of the interior surfaces, and just not do the outside. Now, in the last video, we did the repairs. I did a little bit of aluminum welding. I do need to do a little bit more and clean it up a bit. But I put this together just to make sure that the reasonable gap was perhaps attainable. Until I get it on the body, I won't know that for certain. But the two profiles at the moment match up not too badly. I'll bring you in and show you that. You can see it gets just a little bit wider right in here, but actually this side is being dinged a little bit, so some of that is on this side, but I'll probably build up that side, the aluminum side, a little bit as well, and just clean up a few spots along that edge. But yeah, not looking too bad. So then I want to get cleaning this up on the fender, and actually the front portion here is really solid. Even underneath, I don't feel any much in the way of pitting. So I think I can probably cut down there and keep this front portion to help keep this lip and everything, and that makes this piece a fairly simple one to make. It's actually pretty solid at the back too, but when I feel behind it, I can feel pitting. So I'll reserve judgment on that end until I get a chance to clean it up, maybe blast it a little bit and see. So that's what I'm getting started on. I've got another spot here where there's a dent and quite a bit of surface rust. So I'll have to clean that up and pound it up. I've cleaned up along there a little bit where I'm going to have to do some welding. I've got the outside of the fender pretty much cleaned up, and I just found it very, very interesting the way this fender was made. Multiple pieces. First of all, you can see quite easily the seam here. So that was a standing seam that was spot welded, and then this lip was added on, and that also spot welded on. And then you can see where it was welded right along here, and it stops right there. And then another seam right down here. Now I've ground it off down here, but it goes all the way down to this point. Beautiful job of welding on there. And this is factory, because the other fender is exactly the same. That's just the way they were made, from multiple pieces. And then at the other end, there's this gusset, which they just tucked underneath the fold here and then spot welded along there, which gives me a little bit of a puzzle on how to tackle that. I think I'm just going to sandblast and paint it. I don't believe it was ever painted underneath here before. There's only a very, very light coat of paint on the underside of it, and it doesn't look like it was ever primered. It's only got the body color and a very light coat because it's all rusted through in places. Well, not that rusted, but I mean, a little bit of surface rust. Yeah, so very interesting the way that was built. Now I'm going to flip this fender over, and we'll have a look at it from the other side. Okay, so the spots I've got to repair, obviously this big area down here at the bottom of the fender, and I don't know how well you can see. I should have shown you this before I flipped it over, but you can see right through right there, and another spot up there. So there's a couple of spots on that flange that I have to repair, and those are the same places where I had to repair it on the body when I was doing the main part of the shell. This edge is folded under, so there's like about a half an inch or maybe a little bit bigger flange on that end. Okay, so I think this is it. So I line that up with the edge there, and right the way along, and that's where I'm going with it. And allowing for the lip on the back, the notch in the corner, and I'll square this off straight. Okay. Now to do it in steel. Okay, so I've got it in my brake. It goes up to slightly less than 90. I hope I don't have too much. This is a bit heavy for this little brake. Go up. It's just a guess, but I think that's probably about what it needs. Piece of hardwood would be better, but let's see if I can. Well, that's not too bad, but now I got to fold it right down on itself. So I think we'll do that in the anvil. Okay, so I've just used the hammer to bend this over, but I'm not really getting it flat enough, and because I want to put a curve in this thing, I want to get it good and flat. So I'm getting out the big guns. So okay, now let's fold it over nice and flat. So the next operation is going to be to put the curve in it. Okay, I've got my my piece ready to put the roll in it. I've got this fold bent right back and flattened out pretty good. I finished that off just on the anvil and hammered it flat. Now I have to put the roll in it, and I don't have, what I want to do is build myself a Gene Winfield style pipe anvil, and we'll put a picture in, but I couldn't find any appropriate sized pipe to build it with up here. So that'll be a project that will come along shortly, hopefully before I do the other side. But anyway, for now, I've kind of rigged up my oxygen and acetylene tanks here, and on the one end I've got a clamp. The other end I put a chain around it, and I hope that's going to hold. And we'll see what happens. Same principle as the Gene Winfield with the two rollers, but I don't know if I'll be able to bend it by hand. I don't think so. I cut a 2x4, the same length as my piece, and I put a groove on the one edge, so it should just fit right over top of that. Haven't had it on here yet. Okay. I figured it was going to take a little persuading to get it to bend. You know, if I had a repeat, I think I might have done it in 20 gauge instead of trying to do it in 18. The Fender itself, when I put a micrometer on it and a clean area, it measures about 19 gauge, which is kind of an uncommon size, but I think that's what they used, was 19 gauge. And going to 18 gauge feels considerably heavier. But anyway, that's what I got. So, it's working. I don't know if that's a tight enough curve yet. I'll have to try that on the Fender itself. See how it looks. Pretty close. I think maybe I could put a little bit more bend in that, but it's not bad. On the other end, it seems to be out by quite a bit. See, this Fender was bent, and this is bent under too much, so I can't go by what was there. You can see, well, you can't see probably, but it was torn through that hole, and it was bent up, and I pulled it down some, but it's still not quite where it was supposed to be. If I put this on there, it doesn't look that close. If I move it down where I think the curve is correct, it's not bad. Needs a little bit more bend up at the top maybe. Okay, so now I think the curve at this end is very close. And we'll see when I get it down into well, it's going to go back there somewhere. but I think it's going to be fine. It's a little bit harder to form because of the double lip, but I can probably make a few adjustments to that after it's welded in anyway. I'm going to have to cut a little bit more off up at the top of the corner because it's going up past the straight portion of this. So I'll take that down a little, and then the scary part, then I got to weld it in. Okay, so I have it clamped in place. It's looking pretty good down that end. And I like what's going on over here too, so looks pretty good. I've gone around it with a Sharpie, a marker. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around that edge with the zip cut, and yeah, that'll leave me a little bit of a gap because it does basically have to move over. Yeah, essentially it's got to go in that way. At this end, a double material thickness. The other end, a single material thickness, but the whole thing has to go that way, 1/16 or less. Okay, it's looking pretty good. Got a nice gap along the top. Pretty happy with the way it's looking. I've got no gap down here at the moment, but this front piece has to bend out a bit. I'll get the rest of it tacked first, and then I'll get that place a little better. Okay, I've got it all tacked in place. I'm happy with it. I got it all pretty much leveled up. There might be one or two spots that I'm going to work on a little bit more. But now it's pretty much just go along and weld in between all those spots. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll grind it off, and I'll bring you back and show you the end result. Okay, the bulk of the welding is done. I've got a light in behind there, so I can see if there's any spots where the light shines through. I do have a couple of spots I know down. There's one right there. But I'm going to do the grinding, and then I'm going to go back and double check for light spots. I'll bring it back after I've ground it down a bit. Okay, so there we have it. I did transfer the lines over for where the holes go on that bottom lip. I've got to put those in yet. The metal did curl up a little bit when I was welding, so I've been going along with the hammer and dolly and just flattening it back out again. There's one or two spots I think I'm going to hit from the backside because I don't think I got real good penetration, but most of it was pretty good. So I'm going to wrap this video up here. I know some of you will say I should have bolted it onto the car first before welding this up, and you're right, I should have. But I got a few issues. Not a lot of room to work right now, so it is what it is, and it'll be fine. I'm fairly confident in it. But yeah, come on back next time, and maybe we'll get to work on the other fender. And yeah, let's get Dolly finished up. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.